Macmillan Audio presents Getting the Love You Want, a Guide for Couples by Harville Hendrix, Ph.D. 20th Anniversary Edition, with a new foreword by Harville Hendrix and Helen LaKelly Hunt. Read for you by Jack Garrett. Foreword to the 20th Anniversary Edition of Getting the Love You Want, with Helen LaKelly Hunt, Ph.D. The world is not comprehensible, but it is embraceable through the embracing of one of its beings. Martin Buber. I began an intense exploration of love relationships in 1975 in response to a question from a student in a marriage and family therapy class that I then taught. I remember the day clearly. It was a Tuesday morning, and I was 20 minutes late. I had just come from the county courthouse where I had been granted a divorce. I was hoping the students would have wandered off by the time I arrived, but when I opened the door, I saw that they were all there. I had no choice but to stand in front of them, a living testimony to all that I did not know about marriage. As it turned out, the students knew where I had been, and they greeted me with a surprising amount of compassion. I learned they had spent the last 20 minutes talking about their own relationships, something they had never done before in class. 3 of them had already married and divorced. 3 had never had a serious love relationship, and the remaining 6 were in troubled relationships. At the end of the class, a recently divorced student asked me this question: "Dr. Hendrix, why do couples have such a hard time staying together?" I thought for a moment, and then responded, "I don't have the foggiest notion. That is a great question, and I think I'll spend the rest of my career trying to find out." 2 years later, I met Helen, and we began a conversation about this question that has lasted to this day. After 30 years of being immersed together in the study of relationship dynamics, we have learned a great deal. Many of our insights can be found in this 20th Anniversary Edition of Getting the Love You Want. These pages summarize what we have gleaned from our collaboration, intensive reading, work with thousands of couples in private practice and workshops, and conversation with other psychologists and Imago therapists. Although this edition brings some very significant additions to the book, which I will discuss later in this essay, much of the basic text is the same as the 2001 revised edition. On the whole, our ongoing research has supported rather than challenged the book's main premises. We have also amassed plentiful evidence that the book works in the real world. To date, several millions of couples worldwide have read Getting the Love You Want, and thousands of them have taken the time to share their experiences with Helen and me. Recently, a couple told us that they had been edging toward divorce, but decided to give their marriage one last chance. They rented a remote beach cabin, took along enough food and supplies for 7 days, and packed a copy of Getting the Love You Want. They vowed to read the entire book to each other and practice all the exercises. By the end of the week, they felt closer to each other than they had in 10 years. Ultimately, they decided to stay together and create a conscious partnership. 5 years later, they continue to enjoy a mutually satisfying relationship. They said, "Your book was exactly what we needed. It saved our marriage and, literally, our lives." What we changed. While much of the 2001 text remains, we have made some important revisions. The first revision was to use more inclusive language. Momentous changes in women's rights and same-sex relationships have taken place in the last 20 years. Just as it now seems inappropriate to use the pronoun he to describe both men and women, it is outdated to describe all committed love relationships as marriages, and the 2 individuals involved as spouses or husbands and wives. The last comprehensive census revealed that the United States...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?